The high street in Sileby is bounded on both sides by several different kinds of shops. But just behind the shops are a set of buildings which dominate the Sileby landscape. Known as the Maltings, these buildings have been derelict and run down for years. It is surprising to find that this area was once a thriving brewery. During the 19th century, the growing population in the expanding industrial towns, such as Sileby, Mount Sorrel, Leicester and so on, created a huge demand for beer. Connected by the railway, the towns became an easily accessible mass market for beer selling at pubs and inns. The Beer Act of 1830 introduced the concept of the beer house, a new type of public house created by allowing any rate-paying householder to apply for a licence to sell and brew beer on the premises. One man to see the potential for brewing and selling beer was William Sharpe of Sileby. William Henry Sharpe was born about 1844. His father was a cordwainer and his mother a bookbinder. The family lived at Brook Street in Sileby. He's described in the 1861 census as a scholar aged 17. William Sharpe started brewing beer behind the Duke of York public house in Sileby in about 1870. He specialised in brewing Sileby Stout, a dark beer made using roasted malt, hops, water and yeast. The brewing process has been around for thousands of years. Malted barley is converted into alcohol using a brewer's yeast to induce fermentation. Hops are included to add flavouring. Traditionally, brewing was a small-scale process, but by using new Victorian technology, William Sharpe was able to produce larger quantities of beer. The Sileby Brewery quickly became a major user of steam power. Large brewing vessels replaced traditional small ones. Steam-powered pumps and mills were brought in, and mechanical rakes and mashers were used. William Sharpe quickly became successful, selling Sileby Stout to thirsty workers around the county. By the 1880s, Sharpe's Sileby Brewery has become a fully developed brewery complex. There are the main brewery buildings. There's also a cooperage for making barrels, a bottling plant to bottle the beer, and stabling for horses. The odours from roasting and brewing malted barley and hops would carry into the streets. You could probably smell it in most parts of the village, and sometimes in the fields when the wind is in the right direction. The noise of the steam-driven machinery could probably be heard in the high street. The dray would regularly emerge from the brewery yard and make their way along the streets to deliver the beer to local villages. Wooden casks and the tinkling of bottles would be jostling in wooden crates as the cart was pulled along by the horse. Brewers competed fiercely with each other for sales. William Sharpe's rivals included breweries from Leicester, Derby and Burton-upon-Trent. Leicester's breweries included the All Saints Brewery, located at High Cross Street, Leicester, Tom Hoskins Bow Manor Brewery at Bow Manor Road, Leicester, and Off-Isler's Brewery at Cavendish Bridge near Shardlow. Sharpe's beer business was so successful that the brewery was enlarged in the 1880s with the addition of the 5-storey Maltings Tower and a union room equipped with a recirculating fermentation system. This reduced wastage of yeast and beer. Increasingly wealthy by the 1890s, William Sharpe has moved from Brook Street to the better-off Cossington End. He is married to Agnes and they have 5 children and 2 servants. One son, John, is a brewer's traveller, and a second son, Charles, is a brewer's clerk. By now, William Sharpe has begun to buy public houses in which to sell his stout. One such pub, the Anchor at Mount Sorrel, was bought by William Sharpe in 1896 from a Mr. Cecil F. Scott for £1,900. Advertising was one medium with which to promote sales of beer, and the breweries advertised heavily. All Saints Brewery had bought the General Sir John Moore pub in Sileby. All Saints plastered their name across the top of this pub. William Sharpe and his employees could see this from their brewery. A marketing victory by All Saints Brewery versus Sharpe's Brewery. By the early 1900s, the brewery industry in general is in decline. There are consolidations and takeovers. In 1905, William Sharpe has put Sharpe's Brewery up for sale. The sale catalogue records that William Sharpe not only owns the brewery, but also several pubs. In 1920, the business is bought out by Stretton's Brewery of Derby. They themselves were later acquired by Samuel Allsop and Sons. William Sharpe himself died in 1929. By the 1930s, the Sileby site had closed down as a brewery, but continued the rest of the century as a maltings. By the 1970s, the now dilapidated brewery buildings were put up for sale. The maltings buildings stand empty today at the back of the High Street. They are a silent reminder of Sileby's proud brewing heritage.